Hi everyone, welcome back to A Model Recommends. This video is all about how to wear full coverage foundation. Now, I asked Caroline Barnes, makeup artist of many years experience, does some of the most glamorous faces in the world. I asked her to come a few weeks ago and do some filming with me, showing us a few tricks. I've sort of spliced everything together, so it's a little bit of a mix, this video. So let's get started with my things that I do to prep my skin before I use a full coverage foundation, because I think that prepping the skin is almost as important as how you apply the product and the product that you use. So I start with a really good cleanse, and if I'm going to be doing full-on makeup, then I'll usually do a balm cleanser and take it off with a flannel just for that little bit of exfoliation. And then I make sure that I moisturise really well, so that I give my skin the best chance that it's got of not looking dry or having cakey bits of makeup because they're clinging to dry bits of skin. And the same with oily skin or greasy skin. Prep it really well and use a serum and a moisturiser that really suits your skin so you get the perfect base. Additionally, you can use a primer. I'm sort of touch and go with primers. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. But say you've got a very specific problem that you want to counteract before you put the makeup on, a bit like prepping a wall before you put the wallpaper on or the paint. You'd make sure you fill in the cracks or big potholes or whatever you've got under there. So there are primers out there that address certain things, like if you've got large pores, for example, and you just want to smooth those out a bit, or if you've got dull skin. I've used the Illuminating Perfecting Primer from Estee Lauder, and then in with the base. So here's what Caroline says about keeping your foundation looking really natural. Hi everyone, I'm here with Caroline Barnes, makeup artist extraordinaire to the stars and celebrities.
And today, Ruth Crilly.
Which is obviously the same. Literally burst my eardrum.
I made your son cry earlier with my laugh.
She made Ted burst out crying, laughing in his face. And he went,
when it comes from nowhere. Oh, I do apologise, sorry.
We are talking about how to use full coverage or high coverage foundation today, because I got in a bit of a strop the other week and phoned Caroline and said it's just, I was testing out loads of them for the website and they just weren't sitting right on my face. And she did say, what the hell are you using full coverage foundation for anyway? But you know, sometimes you want to look really perfected, really polished. How do you use them? I mean, I suppose we should cover two scenarios. One, if you've got reasonably good skin and you don't particularly need a high coverage, but you want that polished look. That's the first scenario. And then how, I mean, it might be the same way to use it, but how do you use it if you're covering, for example, acne, rosacea, maybe you've got sort of pigmentation, that kind of thing. Can we go through a few tips and tricks?
Yes. So full coverage foundation for you. Yeah, I do have the answers. So you can use it, just use a small amount and you're just more bespoke about your application. So where are you going to use it? Underneath your eyes, over your cheeks, over your chin, and then blend it in. Or if you do want to go for that whole look, to make it more natural, because you were worried about it going around your lips, weren't you?
Yes.
It going around your lips.
Because it clumps. I don't know whether anyone else gets this, but you try and do high coverage around your mouth and it either goes over your lip line.
Why are you putting high coverage foundation around your mouth?
Well, because I'm just doing it all over. I'm testing, you know, I'm like, you know, right to the edges, down the neck, over the arms, full bodysuit or full coverage.
So if you do want to have a full coverage foundation look, or you do want to have that really beautiful, perfected finish, just to make it a little bit more natural. And like we said, just around the lips, it does collect because we've all got this very soft, fine down around our face here. You can't really see it unless you're in a particular light, so you've got a very strong magnifying lens, but it's all there. And if you've got a foundation that's got quite a few powders and pigment in it, it does sit on top of that skin. Where you feel it collects, it could be around your nose, eyes. For Ruth, it's her lip. Just take a clean beauty blender and just rub it off. Just like that. Oh no, it's not really hygienic if I've just done it on my face, do it on yours. Anyway, you get the point. It minimises the foundation that you've put on. So you've still got a little bit of coverage, so it's not a complete disconnect from the rest of the coverage of your face, but it just takes it off that area. And I really advise, one little tip, just to take the foundation off your nose. You can put it on your nose, but a very heavily made up and powdered nose makes your whole face look instantly made up. But it's reversed the other way. So if you've really made your face up beautifully, freshen up the look and make it look more natural by just taking it off the bridge of your nose, it really makes a big difference. That feature is the most prominent feature on your face. It's a feature that people see first. So if that looks very sort of powdered and made up, then your whole face reads as made up. So if I'm, working with all my girls and stuff,
no, it makes
sense.
It
a little bit more natural, just to literally just.
The first thing you see looks like it's got no makeup on. You're thinking, wow, they're not made up, but their skin looks amazing. You're thinking it's great skin rather than great makeup.
Yeah. And that's a really good trick if you are suffering from acne, or you've got rosacea, or something that you want to really cover up. You can cover all those areas up, but just remove it from the bridge of your nose and add lots of light and radiance to the tops of your cheekbones. It just breaks it up, adds a little bit of light to the makeup, making it look more natural. I think we like that kind of natural finish that looks like skin and kind of radiates and reflects a little bit of light. But if you put a little bit of bronzer, a little bit of blush, a little bit of light, a little bit of dark into your skin, all those different tones on top of your full coverage foundation will allow it to look more natural and more real.
So whether you've got pretty good skin or things you need to cover, the idea is sort of the same then. Keep it looking natural, only put it where you need it.
It's a quick step, isn't it? If you don't want to bother with concealer, just put a little bit of full coverage over, blend it really seamlessly on the outside.
And you've blended seamlessly using 2 different brushes.
Yes.
Both by Look Good Feel Better.
Yes.
We'll link to everything below.
Yeah, and you can get them in M&S.
They're really over the other side of the room. We can't be bothered to get up and get them.
One's a lovely kind of stippling brush. It's a round brush that can really push the foundation into your skin, making sure it gets into all the nooks and crannies and really kind of connects well. That makes the foundation look really natural on your skin. And the other one was a much softer, flatter one, which I then used to really bring down on the side of Ruth's face to make sure all the very fine hair on the side of her face sat naturally.
That's important as well, isn't it? Because everyone's buffing these days. That's the way that everyone applies their foundation, but it's making the hairs sort of stand up the wrong way, isn't it? And so to get that really beautiful, smooth finish, pat them back down.
Take the brush downwards.
Do you need to powder on a high coverage foundation?
I think powdering on the T-zone, just in between your brows, either side of your nose, under your chin, they're the ugly areas to shine. So if you want it to look, a little bit skin-like and a little bit fresher, just powder those areas. But if you want to set the whole makeup, then you can use a puff and work a really lovely puff with a translucent powder all over the skin to set it. And if you use the puff, again, they're way over in the corner of the room there, with a translucent powder and really work it into the skin, it gives a lovely, soft, velvety finish. And because the powder you're using is really fine and not as pigmented as it was back in the day, it just gives a lovely finish to skin, and it does last a long time.
So to recap, I think that the main points are when using full coverage foundation, as well as making sure that you get a really good colour match. So go to the counter, try a few different shades, make sure it disappears seamlessly into your skin. Because if you haven't got a good colour match, then however you blend it, it's just going to look wrong. The main things are prep your skin really well, cleanse really well, and that's going way, way, way back, and you might think that's irrelevant, but if you've got a beautiful cleansed skin and the products that you use afterwards, like your serum and your moisturiser, really absorb well, you're going to have a beautiful base to work on. Prime if you need it to address particular problems and target things like pores or dullness. Focus on the areas that really need coverage, so it's usually the centre of the face, as Caroline said, and then blend, 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 so that you don't get a mask-like effect. If you struggle with areas where the product clings, like for me it's around the top lip, then take your dry beauty blender or blending sponge and just take that makeup away. So just clean it right off, and if that leaves a weird line, then just blend, blend, blend. And another tip from Caroline, which is just brilliant, is swiping the makeup off the nose, just so that when that's the first thing you see, it doesn't look overly powdered or overly made up. And I think that's really, really important if you want full coverage to look natural. And then making sure that you really smooth the foundation down with a flat brush, just so that all those hairs that you've sort of mangled up because you've buffed it in with a buffing brush like this one, they'll be sticking up. So you want to smooth those back down to get a really beautiful, perfect finish. So there we go. Quite short and sweet, but I hope very informative, that video. I mean, high coverage foundations or full coverage foundations, they can be quite difficult to work with because they've got lots of pigment in, and some of them contain quite a lot of powders, which is what makes them quite matte, and they set and they give good coverage and they last for a long time. So all of those things, put them together and you're going to get a foundation a lot of the time that is a little bit more difficult to work with than your average sort of healthy glow foundation. So you might need to work a little bit more quickly than usual, but just make sure you have all of your tools to hand. And it's, you know, really a great way of getting that airbrushed finish that looks so good on camera. Is it a fount of knowledge or a font of knowledge? And also I've got deja vu because I'm sure I've asked you that before.
Font of knowledge? I don't know, yeah, font.
Answers on a postcard, everyone.
Font of knowledge.
Make sure you subscribe and we'll see you next time.
God, you still have to say that. Subscribe.
Alright, I won't say it then.
I've never said it.
See you next time.
I haven't got many followers.